All right, it is 5 p.m. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Once again, thank you for joining me this evening. My name is Sebastian. I am the product manager for TruckLogics. I'm going to be running the webinar today. I am the product manager for TruckLogics. I've been here for about 2 years, and TruckLogics is our TMS or truck management software platform with built-in mobile app, the best platform out there for managing your fleet. TruckLogics was developed by the same parent company, Span Enterprises, that brought you these other industry leaders, including our payroll solution, PayWow, employer taxes from Tax Bandits, ACA compliance from ACA Wise, 2290 e-filing services from Express Truck Tax, the largest e-file provider of the Form 2290 in the country, and small business taxes and pay stub solutions from Express e-file and 123 pay stubs. We do have a promotion going on for PayWow right now. PayWow is an easy-to-use online payroll solution empowering businesses to take control of their payroll and contractor needs. PayWow handles any applicable payroll taxes, quarterly tax filings, year-end tax filings such as 1099s and W-2s, and provides a convenient direct deposit option to pay workers easily. If you would like more information about PayWow, please feel free to contact their support team directly at support@paywow.com. PayWow and TruckLogics work very well to complete your full payment process for your employees and your contractors. Please check us both out. TruckLogics has been built from the ground up for truckers and trucking companies, including small to large fleets, by drawing on over 10 years of experience supporting the trucking industry with our other products and services. TruckLogics provides valuable and robust time and money-saving features and the best solution on the marketplace for the price point that we're at. You can check out all our features on TruckLogics.com. We include a 15-day free trial with no obligation and no credit card information required for anyone who's interested. And we provide live support 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday Eastern Standard Time and 24/7 email support. If you have not yet already signed up with TruckLogics or are currently on a free trial, please feel free to make your way over to TruckLogics.com and get started today. TruckLogics is also integrated with other industry leaders to provide you with one master dashboard to run your entire operation. This is going to include our load board integration with DAT, IFTA reporting and ELD information from Keep Trucking, Form 2290 filing services from Express Truck Tax, invoicing and accounting solutions from QuickBooks Online, and our route calculation tool, fuel optimization tool, ProMiles. If you'd like more information about these, again, please feel free to reach out to our support team. What we're going to be reviewing today is simplifying the IFTA reporting process using the TruckLogics application. We're going to show you how it's going to reduce your time to get your data onto your state forms from hours to seconds. Before we go ahead and get started, I just want to give everybody an overview of what we're going to be covering today. We're going to be generating an IFTA report with a TruckLogics account, and then we're going to review the information that was included on that IFTA report and where it came from in the TruckLogics account to kind of give you an overview of what's required. We'll wrap up with what to do with your report once it's been completed, and then with any questions that we receive during the presentation. Again, if you do have any questions during the presentation, please use the raise hand function or type your question directly into the Q&A box, and we will answer your question live on today's webinar. Okay, before we jump into the actual content, I just wanted to give everybody a little bit of information before we get started about what IFTA is. So IFTA is the International Fuel Tax Agreement. That's specifically what it stands for. And now what it's here for is it's designed as a tax collection agreement among the 48 contiguous lower 48 and the 10 Canadian provinces bordering the lower 48. It is managed by the IFTA organization, the International Fuel Tax Association. They're the ones that set the guidelines for the collection of taxes and how states must communicate with each other for paying taxes or issuing credits and stuff like that. You can visit their website, iftach.org, for more information. They're also the organizational body that collects and publishes the tax rates, including the surcharge rates or any split rates that you see in any states for any month. And the spirit of the IFTA fuel tax agreement was to streamline the fuel tax payment process, which if you have been in the industry long enough and operated in the 70s, you had to pay your state taxes when you went ahead and exited a state. That has been done away with using the International Fuel Tax Agreement as the framework to do away with that previous model. And what it boils down to is your IFTA license, once you've obtained it from your base jurisdiction, is an obligation to file. You do have to file one return every quarter, but you'll only have to make one tax payment or one tax refund every quarter, as opposed to multiple times a day or a year, whatever it might be, every time you cross the state border. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the actual TruckLogics application at this point. But again, if you guys have any questions during the presentation, please enter it in chat, use the raise hand function or the Q&A box to go ahead and get our attention, and we'll answer your questions at the end. On screen now, you're looking at the IFTA module of TruckLogics. The IFTA module is available in preferred and premium level accounts for owner-operators to large fleets. What this does is this aggregates the information previously entered into your TruckLogics account to produce what we call a file-ready return. The file-ready return will be outputted directly on your state forms and is simply ready to go. All you have to do is print it and mail it. Before we go ahead and get started with actually producing a return, the first place we're going to stop in your IFTA module of your TruckLogics account is your settings page. The settings page of your IFTA module is where you're going to go to set up your base jurisdiction, enter your IFTA license number, and the associated information that your state requires. As you select a different state, the requirements will appear beneath it. So if you operate in a different state like North Carolina or New York or New Jersey or California, the requirements for what information needs to appear on your IFTA return will change depending on the state that you're using. And that's because the information is going to output directly on your state forms. So all the required information must be in there. I've selected South Carolina. I've entered in my account number and my EIN number, which are required for South Carolina IFTA filings. Once this is all set up, you don't have to come back here and change this information too often. Very rarely, if ever, are you going to move base jurisdictions. So once this information has been entered, you're going to go ahead and hit save. You're now set up and ready to go ahead and produce the IFTA report. So let's show you how quickly and easily you can generate an IFTA report with the TruckLogics application. I'm going to select my third quarter. You can see my system already has a view return button in here. And that's one of the benefits that you get with our system. If you have produced a report previously, you can modify it an unlimited number of times for things like amendments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Modify Return to reinitiate the process and start a new return. Step one is to select your vehicles from your vehicle list. You can pull information from your TruckLogics application, which we'll show you in a second where the information pulls from, or you can import that information directly from your Keep Truckin' ELD. If you do have an ELD system with Keep Truckin', you can simply click this Import from KT button. The system will go out after you log into your Keep Truckin' account, and all you have to do is link your Keep Truckin' trucks to your TruckLogics trucks. On the left-hand side of the screen, you simply check the box for the truck that you'd like to include. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you just include which truck number that belongs to. The truck numbers do not have to match. They simply just need to be pointed in the correct direction. Once that's been done, you can select any number of trucks, one truck, all trucks. Individual reports can also be generated by selecting just one truck. If you have an independent contractor and have to generate his own return, you can do so as long as he's in your same base jurisdiction. But check the boxes for all the trucks and then hit next. And this is where the system really shines to turn your IFTA filing process from a data entry process into a review process. We've previously entered all of our information for mileages in our dispatches and all of our expense information under our expense transactions. What we're doing is reviewing that information. Scrolling down the list, we can see a list of information pulled from my TruckLogics dispatches for truck unit number P002. And we can see for my Keep Truckin' truck, it pulled in the actual miles off of the ELD itself, totaling 4,120. Just review this information. If anything is incorrect or you need to make a slight adjustment, you can do so by clicking the Edit Miles button and typing in the information. Let's actually show you a real one here. And then you can just type directly into these fields. Once everything looks correct, you're going to go ahead and hit Next. The system will present you with the fuel breakdown. The fuel breakdown comes from the expense transactions previously entered into your TruckLogics account. You can import your information if you'd like to. We'll review that in a minute. But what you can also do is you can also import that information directly from your Keep Truckin' ELD. If you've been keeping your fuel up receipts or your fuel ups in your Keep Truckin' ELD, you can import that information at this point. Otherwise, review the information you previously entered, scroll to the bottom, and hit Next. You can already see how easy it is just to review the information as long as it's already been entered. Review your miles per gallon calculation. Pro tip, your miles per gallon calculation should be somewhere between 5 and 8. If you're seeing 3 or if you're seeing 12 in your miles per gallon calculation, you're going to want to go back and double check things. If your miles per gallon is way, way high, you're missing distance. If your miles per gallon is way, way low, you're missing fuel. Most of the TruckLogics application users are going to fall somewhere between that 5 and 7 miles or 5 and 8 miles per gallon bell curve, just because everybody kind of drives at the same rates and the trucks are almost always exactly the same fuel efficiencies. Review this information one more time, and next we're going to actually review the taxes due. So this is where you're going to enter in things like your credits due or your taxes due. If you do have a credit from a previous quarter, you can carry that information forward directly onto your state forms. If you produce this report after the due date, the system will present you with a late fee calculation field. You can remove the late fee, you can add or increase or edit the late fee, and you can also indicate if you are owed a credit, whether or not you would like that credit to be carried forward, or if you would like that credit to be issued to you as a payment. When everything looks correct, we're going to go to the last summary page that you are presented with. This is going to show you everything you did previously, from your settings page in your IFTA module to all of the fuel and distance entries that you've made and all the reviews and checks that you've gone through so far. But we're going to take it one step further for you, and we're going to check it with our system for common errors. When you hit next and you go through the audit, you can generate error or caution messages. Error messages are a hard stop. Anything that is an error message, you're going to have to go back and fix. Anything that shows you as a caution message is not something that needs to be fixed necessarily. Things like an MPG calculation showing above 8 or less than 5, if you elect to have those settings enabled on your account, that will show up as a caution message. Again, it won't prevent you from proceeding. Once I click next, we're done. It's that simple, it's that easy. Every previous version that I've ever generated for this quarter is going to be in a rolling history list, so I can download each one. In most states, submitting an amendment is simply the same return with one additional box checked, indicating that it's an amendment. So if you do have to file an amended return, we keep all of the histories of all of the returns that you've ever produced for each quarter right here in your IFTA module. You can download a new copy of the return that you just produced, and we'll show you here in a second what it looks like produced on the South Carolina forms directly. So what we do is, once the form has been downloaded, we give you a little bit of a cheat sheet up here at the top. These are our instructions. What we've done is we've taken the state instructions and we've pulled out the relevant important information and made it a little bit easier to read. So we aggregate your total amounts due or credits or taxes right up here at the top for you for easy viewing. On the second page, we're going to give you step-by-step instructions on who to make your check or money order payable to, where to mail it, your ID numbers that should be included on things like your check, and the actual physical mailing address itself. If you keep scrolling on down, we give you additional information about who to contact in your base jurisdiction and what to do with the report when you're done with it. And then right here is your South Carolina DMV forms. If your state still supports paper filings, it will output right on your state forms. All of the information our system put into this form will appear in blue. Simply review this information before you go ahead and print it. But this is the last step. When you get to this point, all you have to do is print this return, follow the instructions, and mail it off. We even include the state instructions where we generated our instructions from right here at the bottom of the return. So again, you can produce as many versions of this as you would like. Each return that you generate, if it outputs on your state forms, is file ready. You simply need to mail it off to your base jurisdiction and you'll be good to go. If you do have any questions though about your state's specific filings, whether they are e-file only now or if they still support paper filings, every state is a mixed bag. Please feel free to reach out to our support team. We're happy to help you figure that out. And also, if you are in a state that does generate or only accepts IFTA returns in the e-file portal that they provide to you when you obtain your license, our system will produce an e-file worksheet for you. The e-file worksheet is going to make your life significantly easier. It's going to aggregate all of your information needed to e-file in one neat, clean, professional data entry sheet. You can view, print, fax, or download that information from the system at any point. And what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to show you very briefly where the information is sourced from within the TruckLogics application. If you're using our system to generate your report, we're going to go ahead and go through the mileage information first. So just give me 1 second here while I go ahead and switch over to our dispatches. TruckLogics is going to record the information about how your freight moves, in which truck, any expenses that were incurred, et cetera, in the dispatching module of your account. In your dispatches, each one of them includes a trip sheet. On preferred and premium level accounts, what you can do is you can use the route that you have established in your TruckLogics routing tab of each dispatch to produce your trip sheet. The trip sheet will be produced in one of two ways. You can either manually type this in by itemizing from left to right by date, state, and total miles, empty and loaded, from beginning to end of the route. The other way to populate this is to use our integration with ProMiles. ProMiles will give you two ways to populate your trip sheet based upon the route that you've established, and will pull in for you all of the empty and loaded miles based upon your calculation. You can have a time-efficient calculation or a distance-efficient calculation, whichever one you'd like to use. You're going to want to go ahead and check this information against your ELD devices or the odometer reading of the truck to make any minor adjustments that you need. Things like it being a mile off might need to be corrected, but again, if it is all rounding, so again, a mile discrepancy is not really going to be that much of a big deal. And you can see the system went out, pulled in the shortest route that it could, and populated the total mileage distance here for me. Once this has been saved or updated within your account, this information will carry directly to the IFTA module of your account with the truck, the unit number that you have associated with this dispatch. Next up is going to be where the system sources the information for fuel. Now, fuel ups can come into the system a couple of different ways. The most efficient way to enter in your fuel expenses within the TruckLogics application is going to be to upload that information. TruckLogics has an integration with EFS fuel card systems. What you can do is you can import up to 3 months worth of transactions using our EFS integration at a time. You simply add TruckLogics as a data sharing partner in your EFS eManager account, connect the two together, and then you can batch import 3 months worth of transactions at a time. Don't worry, if you don't have an EFS fuel card, we can accept anything in Microsoft Excel format. So regardless of the fuel card provider that you're using, you can upload using a Microsoft Excel file directly to your expenses list. You can also use our template if you can't get an Excel spreadsheet and copy and paste your data on there as well. We also support Fleet Run and Comdata transaction reports directly. So if you have a Fleet Run or Comdata report, you can simply click one of these buttons and the system will do the rest for you. The other way to enter your fuel expenses is to manually type them in. This can actually be tied in from our mobile app. If you've been using the mobile app to dispatch your drivers, they can enter in the fuel expenses directly through their mobile app as a reimbursement or a deduction, and you can see it here. But to enter the fuel expenses from the website, you simply click Add Expense, click Add Fuel Expense, and enter in the relevant information. The unit number, the trip that the fuel was purchased on, the date of the fuel up, the type of fuel, and then the rest of the information can be entered in directly here. Once all of this information has been entered into the system, it will carry automatically to the IFTA module. You do not have to indicate into the system for your mileage or for your fuel expenses that should or should not be included in IFTA. The system knows the difference between your diesel fuel, your reefer, and your DEF, so you don't have to itemize your receipts. You can type them all in as one big transaction every time you fuel up. And then when you come back over to your IFTA module each quarter, you'll go ahead and click Start Return, View Return, Continue for whatever quarter it is that you're currently working on, and then follow the prompts through the end to generate your file-ready IFTA report. Once all of your IFTA reports have been generated, like I mentioned, you can generate as many additional copies of that report if you would like to, and everything that you've generated previously is saved within the account. Generating your IFTA reports with TruckLogics, we like to say, takes about 60 seconds, as long as you've been using the system as intended, as opposed to 60 hours of work going through accordion files, trying to track down drivers, exporting mileage reports or ELD information from your accounts, wherever they might be. With our system, centralize it into one big comprehensive master dashboard and let the system do the work for you, and simply output your returns in 60 seconds using our system and mail them off to your base jurisdiction. Okay, we're going to go ahead and switch back over here to my presentation. I just want to make sure that everybody has our contact information before we open this up for Q&A. Our direct phone line is 704-234-6946. If you have any questions at all pertaining to IFTA, including general knowledge questions, please feel free to reach out to us directly. We also monitor our email support box 24/7, 365. If you have a question overnight, on the weekends, on a holiday, something like that, please email us directly at support@trucklogics.com. Okay, we're going to go ahead and open it up for Q&As here. My associate Kaylee is here with me. Kaylee, have we gotten any good questions? It looks like we have gotten a few good questions. Okay, we're going to go ahead and answer those now. It looks like anonymous. No worries if you don't want to share your name, no big deal. Don't worry about that. Does TruckLogics help if my state is an e-file only state? Okay, that's a great question. First, an e-file only state, you will have to use their e-file portal. You will not be able to mail them a paper return. However, the TruckLogics system is going to generate for you an e-file worksheet. It's going to lay out for you the information the way that your e-file system is going to need to accept it. So it makes it much, much easier for you to type that in as opposed to, say, using a Microsoft Excel report or something else as well. It looks like Abdul has a question that he would like to ask live on air. Hold on one second, Abdul. We'll go ahead and unmute you, and then you can ask your question. Okay, Abdul, you raised your hand. Go ahead and ask your question. You are live. Okay, Abdul, it doesn't look like you have a microphone connected. Please go ahead and use the Q&A box. Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. You're live on the air. What can we answer for you today?
All right, thank you. We're new carriers, but I'm not sitting in front of my computer now to look at the box that we have, the board that we have, if we have that IFTA upgrade on it. However, we started picking up loads in September. By then, we didn't have the fuel cards available. We have every load that we picked up been recorded through TruckLogics. How can we be able to match? Because some of the fuel we were purchasing it with normal purchase and have the receipts. So how can we integrate them now that we started and did not have the fuel card to get into?
Abdul, you have a bad connection, so your voice isn't coming through correctly for the whole thing. But what I think you're asking, and just correct me if I'm wrong, is you've started to enter fuel expenses and now you have an EFS fuel card and you want to take advantage of the import functionality, right? And you just don't want to duplicate any of your data. Is that correct? Yeah, we can't hear you, Abdul, anymore.
Into the TruckLogics, how can we integrate for the first time?
Abdul, we cannot hear you. I'm going to go ahead and mute you for now. What I'd like you to do is when we jump, I'll go ahead and pull your contact information off of the registration list and give you a call directly. Okay, let's move on to the next questions. Just in the effort of time, we want to make sure we get to everybody. Okay, let's move on to the next question that we have. I have an IFTA license. This is also from Anonymous. Again, don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about sharing your name here. I have an IFTA license, but I did not operate. Do I still need to file? Okay, yes, you do. The answer there is, think of the IFTA license itself as an obligation to file. When you obtain your IFTA license, you are now obligated to file 4 quarterly returns. Whether you operated or not, doesn't matter. You're going to file what they call a 0 mileage return. With our system, you can output a 0 mileage return in the same amount of time that you can output a return full of data. So don't worry about whether or not you operated or not. If you're using our application, you can produce the same 0 mileage return as a real live return in about the same amount of time, about 60 seconds. Oh, okay. Aneka Clark, I think. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought he was asking, how to upload the diesel receipts into the system. What we're going to do is we're going to just focus on the general knowledge questions about IFTA at the moment, and the actual integration questions we can answer a little bit later. However, we do have pre-formatted instructions that we can send to everybody on how to integrate the fuel card receipts from EFS into TruckLogics. It's a very straightforward and easy process. It requires very minimal setup in order for it to work. And then once it does work, it's a few button clicks to search for your information and then import it directly into the system. But the specific minutia of how that actually is set up and all that other fun stuff is not directly on topic with IFTA right now. So we're going to go ahead and circle back to the last two questions that we do have, because we do have two other questions in the queue here. Aneka, if you have any questions further to that one, please feel free to go ahead and use the Q&A session box to go ahead and ask us your questions. Next up, it looks like there is a Joe. Is there a Joe here? Somebody says he's Joe. No worries, no worries. Again, don't expect 100% honesty with these names here. No big deal. Are toll roads IFTA exempt? This is one I get all the time. The simplest answer is no. Simply because you paid a toll for highway usage does not make the road IFTA exempt. You're going to want to double check any road that you paid a toll on, because IFTA exemption and toll roads are two separate and distinct things. So make sure that you double check it. Also, typically, if you're on an IFTA exempt road, you're an IFTA exempt vehicle to begin with. A good example would be like a farm use only truck on farm property, operating only on farmland, privately owned roads. Those would be IFTA exempt miles. A military truck driving on a military road, that's also IFTA exempt miles. Okay, and let's go ahead and let's answer this last question here, because we got about 3 minutes left. Ooh, this is a doozy. Okay. This one is from Anonymous. How is IFTA tax different from the tax that I pay at the pump? This is an excellent question. I love this question. Okay, so just a couple of knowledge points here. The difference between the taxes that you pay when you're actually fueling up at the pump and the taxes that you pay to your state is IFTA taxes are logged for any miles that you log in any state, and the taxes that you pay at the pump go directly to the state where you buy the fuel. Okay, so every mile logged for IFTA will generate a tax amount due to the state that you operate in. Okay, it doesn't matter if you bought fuel in that state or not. The taxes paid on the fuel at the pump for any state purchases that you make will offset any taxes incurred from miles logged in that state. For example, if you buy the tax in a state and it exceeds the amount of taxes due from the miles that you logged in that state, what it's going to do is the state is going to issue you a credit. So you'll have some states that have a positive credit, and some states will have a tax due, a negative amount that you owe them. And basically, the terminology I like to use is it all kind of comes out in the wash. So as long as you are recording all of your taxable miles and purchasing the fuel when you need the fuel, everything is going to kind of come out in the wash. What I've seen typically with the IFTA reports that I've helped on is about $100 swing in either direction, depending on your fleet size. Meaning you should be owed about $100, or you should owe about $100, or somewhere within that around zero is what you're typically going to see. Because again, the tax that you pay at the pump is what you have as a credit, which is then used to offset the tax that is incurred for operating within that state. Another way that they do it is they talk about it as fuel burned, right? So fuel you burn in that state incurs tax payments. Fuel that you purchase in that state incurs tax credits. And it all kind of comes out in the wash, okay? So if you have any specific questions about IFTA, about TruckLogics and IFTA, or if you'd like to learn a little bit more about PayWow, please feel free to give us a call. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Again, my name is Sebastian. I am the manager here over at TruckLogics. Our direct phone line is 704-234-6946. If you have any IFTA questions, the IFTA deadline is November 1st. Please call us immediately after the webinar is over. Over the weekend, if you need to get in touch with us, shoot us an email. We're happy to help you any way that we can to get your IFTA reports all in order for the filing season deadline coming up on November 1st. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We do appreciate you taking the time to join our free webinar on IFTA information. Again, please feel free to reach out to us anytime if you have any questions. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening.